It's Workout Tuesday! What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing Tuesday. Workout Tuesday to be exact. And I couldn't do it on Wednesday strictly because my editor needed an additional day. So I thought I'd move Workout Wednesday to Workout Tuesday. For the people that don't know what Workout Wednesday is, it's actually every day, once a week, I give you guys workout advice to be able to improve your life. Look, I know Yu-Gi-Oh is life, but in order for you to live a longer life, you might want to improve your life with working out. Too strong. So recently, I've been getting a lot of questions on what type of supplements do I take. Well, I don't really take any other supplements other than this dietary supplement in whey protein. You don't got to use this exact one. It's just for people that actually work out. Not saying that you don't work out, dog, but when you start working out, you want to take in a lot more protein to start feeding your muscles, and that's a lot of steak. So we result to this, and you want to take 0.8 grams times your body weight in order to be able to, get the gains that you need. I actually like to combine this with oat milk because I don't really like regular milk ever since I've had this, and it has been insane. Speaking of such, actually Sabrina can't even have whey protein, so let me give you something else for the people that are allergic. If you are allergic to whey protein, which some people are, then Sabrina likes to use this organic protein. It's made out of peas. Instead of mixing it in with her milk, she likes to mix it in with her food. It does a lot better for her. And yeah, that's pretty much it that you need to know about protein. When you try to get them gains, you need to have enough to stay strong. So I'm excited to not only be able to provide that information with you, but I'm also excited to be talking about this hand trap tier list. Master Duel players, I have not forgotten about you, as that game is extremely fun. This tier list will not only be talking about cards that you should be playing in the TCG, but also giving you a little bit of a twist. We're going to be having or talking about some cards that should or should not be played in Master Duel as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into our tier list. We have 7 different categories. 5 of them are normal categories, better be caught with it, or hand traps you probably should be playing inside of your main board or side deck. Sauce hand traps are amazing or underrated hand traps inside of this particular meta. Really good are hand traps that you could play and pretty much get away with, all the way down to a lot of effort. These hand traps are hand traps that you probably want to play for a particular situation, but not really for anything else to, oh no, what are you doing, baby? These are the hand traps you should not be playing whatsoever. Our 2 new categories are Master Duel God Guards. These are amazing hand traps that you should be playing. And why are you Master Dueling with these particular hand traps? Without further ado, let's jump on in. Ally of Justice Cycle Reader is a card that is, actually it's, oh no, what are you doing, baby? Currently right now, the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh are Sword Soul, Phantom Knight, and Tri-Brigade still, with Virtual World and some other strategies tagging alone. None of those strategies play a considerable amount of light monsters for Ally of Justice Psycho Reader to take advantage. Now, is the Drytron strategy dead? No, and I do have a meta tier list that will be coming out very shortly, but for right now, this card is, oh no, what are you doing, baby? Unless for some reason your meta is filled with Drytron, which it shouldn't be right now. Artifact Lancia is, oh my god. This card is amazing, and I did make a duplicate for Artifact Lancia by accident. This is actually, why are you playing this in Master Duel, for the people that wanted to know, but this card is amazing in the TCG. Whew. What's really hot right now is that adventure token strategy that needs to banish Water Enchantress Temple to be able to add the cards that you need. There's also Phantom Knight, Virtual World, Tri-Brigade. All of those strategies are hit by Artifact Lancia. You could argue that this card could be a card that you play inside of your main board. It is ridiculous in this particular meta. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring has moved all the way from why are you playing this card to last format all the way to this sauce. Not only does it hit every single one of the decks and does it fairly well, with the hit, one would think with Pot of Desires being hit that this card became less important. This card actually became more important. We already know that certain points of interaction are extremely important. Opponents using spell cards like Emergency Teleport to extend, Krishan Hucklefibrix to special summon, and of course still fusion Destiny into the meta. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is an amazing card right now and should probably be considered as one of the first hand traps that you should play, preventing adventure token players from continuing with their combos, as well as stopping some really good choke points. I have to say that for Master Duel, this card is a god card as well. Not only does it stop Maxi, it's fairly generic and works against every deck. Chaos Hunter is a card that is going to require a lot of effort. I don't think it's necessarily a bad card, especially in a format where Artifact Lancia is borderline mainboarded, but the fact that this is a monster that you summon to your side of the field, meaning that all your opponent has to do is get rid of the monster and then they can continue to banish, not as good as one would hope. I don't think that this card is bad, it just needs a lot of work to make it really, really great. In my head, Contact C I think would be a saucy Yu-Gi-Oh card, but unfortunately it's a level 6. And think about it. If you give this to a Sword Soul player, they wouldn't be able to do anything with it until it becomes level 6. So they could just synchro for better on their floor. Fairly good. I'm going to say that this card requires a lot of effort because it can shine in a lot of situations. But because it's a 6, because Hockle Fabrics is starting to see more play, which needs just a tuner and then that card, there are not a lot of situations where this card can really shine. I can tell you against the Invoked matchup, giving them this Contact C when you know they don't play Magalencia, Invoked Magalencia, or Shadol Shekinaga, this is pretty saucy as it kind of does stop them, but it's a really niche card that does require effort. Dama Mama. Es no bueno. I miss you, Dama Mama. I gotta say, unfortunately, guys, this is a card that you should not be playing right now. I love Sword Soul Iris because she's just such an awesome card, but unfortunately, she is not good right now. I mean, she's pretty good to special summon off for Incredible Ecclesia, and her effects aren't necessarily bad, but you need your opponent to actually do things for you to gain all advantage of Dama Mama. I wouldn't say she's, oh no, what are you doing, baby? But she does require a dedicated situation for her to work. Diddy Crow is actually a fairly good card. Diddy Crow does allow you to interact with Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer. It also banishes key Phantom Knight cards in the graveyard. It can banish Tingye monsters in the graveyard and Virtual World cards, which may not be the best idea all the time, but also can stop certain Tri-Brigade interactions and is searchable through Charade. Diddy Crow is a fairly good mid card that if you're playing inside of your deck, you're doing pretty well. Now, Dimensional Shifter has always been a saucy Yu-Gi-Oh card. I mean, if your deck can play it, you better play it, as this card is easily one of the best hand traps in the game, seeing that most decks do rely on being able to send cards to the graveyard. Now, Sword Soul, not as much, but against Virtual World, this card can do really well. It sends Qinglong, Chuche, and allows them, preventing them from getting into certain extenders. They also can't use Lao Lao if they don't have a graveyard. If they're starting off initially without a graveyard, this card is also pretty good against Tri-Brigade, amazing against Tri-Brigade, and of course, it does really well against most of the decks inside of the meta. Droll Lockbird. I feel like Droll Lockbird is actually a really heavily slept on Yu-Gi-Oh card. I'm just going to go ahead and call it sauce. Reason being is because with a lot of decks playing the Adventure token engine, they actually search a lot more. Like Phantom Knights is hittable with Droll Lockbird because of the Adventure token engine. They start to search, you hit the Droll Lockbird, now they can't use their effects of Boots, they can't use their Cloak. Those cards that they really need to start extending into some of those deeper combos. So Droll Lockbird is actually damn near a mainable card because you know what it does against some of the other decks that really want to search. So you really could say that Droll Lockbird is a lot better the more combos go on. And in Master Duel, there's no way you should be playing Droll Lockbird. This card is a great side deck card, and if it's ever played in the main board inside of a meta, that means that there is a strategy or strategies that search a lot. In Master Duel, I mean, anything can make it to the highest bracket, and a lot of those decks don't search. So you're going to see a lot more variance inside of Master Duel, which isn't really good for Droll Lockbird. Droll Lockbird likes metas where every single of the top decks search, something that a meta that we're in right now because of our Adventurer token. Effect Veiler is... So I'm going to put Effect Veiler at really good. And the reason why I put it at really good is because a lot of budget players that can't afford some of those other cards, Effect Veiler is a fairly solid card. But the problem with Effect Veiler is that we're in a format where even if you do negate a potential monster, players have extenders. I have to say that using Effect Veiler against Hockley Fabrics is good. Obviously, you can't use it against the Adventurer token engine, which is really why I'm just saying it's a fairly mid card. And then, you know, you could use it against Rusty Bardish, but if they're playing it correctly, they'll have the Adventure token engine going before you can even do all of that. So it's a fairly mid card. It has its situations where it can really shine. Effect Veiler normally plus another hand trap is what you will need to be able to stop your opponent's combos. Evenly Match is damn near better be caught with it. We're playing in a back row heavy format, guys. Like, come on. Eldritch, I have not talked about as much, as most of these cards still do hit Eldritch. Ash Blossom starts the Sanguine, Lancia stops him from vanishing. Evenly Matched kind of just ruins all that back row that they were going to set right there and allows you to play the game. This card is a godsend against back row heavy decks, and you really have to appreciate Evenly Matched being inside of a Yu-Gi-Oh card game where we have skill drain at 3 and other amazing trap decks. On the flip side, Evenly Matched is why are you master dueling with this? So what I've noticed about Master Duel is that since we don't have a side deck, a lot of these really good power cards are not as good as they used to be. And because of that, Master Duel feels like it has its own meta that needs to be addressed. It's really interesting, and I'm excited to see where Master Duel goes from here, but I have to say, Evenly Matched for right now, not good. You're going to play against a whole bunch of decks that make a whole bunch of negates. You're just better off playing cards like Maxi and then just dealing with the board afterward. Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, unfortunately, is another card with a lot of effort. While Phantom Knights and Tri Brigades do link summon a lot, decks like Eldritch and Sword Soul, I mean, there's not really a lot of linking there. It could happen, but not as much as you would want to. I would have to say that Fantastical Dragon Phantasme has fallen on hard times, and it will come back into the meta once more link monsters become more prevalent. Cypher Gear Gamma is really good. So I have to give Cypher Gear Gamma the really good column because not only does it negate the monster effect, it destroys the monster effect. It can stop Water Enchantress Temple from activating in graveyard, which is pretty good. But again, it's one of those hand traps that you would probably need another hand trap because granted, you want to stop that whole combo because it could also stop Wandering Griffin Rider. But more importantly, you want to stop the combo that they're using to protect what Wandering Griffin Rider. It's also good at stopping Hockley Firebricks, which is starting to see a play inside of Sword Soul, and can stop Tri Brigade Lyrillus most critical plays. The thing that I love about this Forbidden List is that it made decks a lot more vulnerable to hand traps. So if you are playing a deck that can slam 14 hand traps in, then slamming 14 hand traps with some of these really good cards will allow you to break your opponent's board or prevent them from making it. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is sauce, guys. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is sauce. This card is sickety sauce. You gotta love it, man. Ghost Ogre has so many applications in this meta. First of all, again, for the Adventurous token engine, you guys are going to see me talk about that engine a lot. Ghost Ogre is allowing you to stop Wandering Griffin Rider. Wandering Griffin Rider needs to return to the main deck in order for you to negate a card where Ghost Ogre destroys it. It also stops their Adventure Continuous spell card from even searching a adventure monster or a monster that has adventurer tokens in its name from the deck to the hand. It's fairly good at Sword Soul as it does allow you to get rid of the probable threat. A lot of times your opponent will still be able to gain the effect of cards like Moye and Taye and still being able to gain the effect of Shishao, but Ghost Ogre gets rid of the threat, which a lot of times is all you need. The card is also pretty good against a lot of Hockley Firebricks shenanigans, as destroying the Hockley Firebricks and leaving your opponent with a Despot 001 is not necessarily what they want to do when it comes to comboing. Ghost Ogre is overall just an amazing card, especially with the prevalence of face-up spell and trap cards that will activate on the field. Keep in mind, if your opponent wants to activate a face-up spell or trap card that is already on the field, it has to resolve face-up on the field for it to be able to be used. So Ghost Ogre does come up in those type of formats, which we're starting to head on to. Oh man. Oh, also for Master Duel, don't play Ghost Ogre. Master Duel players, this don't apply to you. None of this applies to you. You guys don't have Sword Soul. You don't have to deal with the adventure tokens. This card's also fairly good against Phantom Knight. It can do some crazy things about Phantom Knight, but you don't really need it against Phantom Knight. It's just don't play it. Also, Cypher Gear Gamma is another card that's just, no, don't play it. It's limited to 2. It's not worth it. Unless you're on 3 Driver, 1 Gamma, the ultimate combo, then, you know, it's not worth it. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Ghost Sisters. I'm not even going to talk about this card. Ghost Sisters, man, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But I didn't know. I bought these cards at $20 a pop, and yeah, it's going to haunt me ever since. Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion is not a terrible Yu-Gi-Oh card, It has good interactions against Phantom Knight. It has great interactions against Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer. But that's pretty much where Ghost Ogre or Ghost Bell kind of stops. Unfortunately, you really want to use Ghost Bell to stop the Adventurous engine, and the Adventurous or Water Enchantress of the Temple banishes from the graveyard for cost, meaning Ghost Bell can't stop her. She still does have a lot of interesting situations inside of this format, being able to prevent Phantom Knight monsters from being special summoned to the side of the field, being able to stop Tri-Brigade Revolt if players are still on that, being able to stop certain Lyralisque monsters from being able to be used. She's a mid-hand trap that you can play in conjunction with other hand traps to make your game better. Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. This is also another one of those mid-hand traps. She doesn't necessarily do her job bad. She can activate on certain cards and negate their effect and inflict damage. She's also an out for Sword Soul players to be able to stop Token Collector. Your opponent special summons Token Collector on your first turn. You activate Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, negate the Token Collector, and then you can continue on. So Ghost Mourner does have some fairly good significance inside of certain decks, but it's not a card that you would probably see featured in a lot of strategies. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This card requires a lot of effort. And the reason why is unless you're playing the mirror match and you know you're going to go against, let's say if you were it's a 5-round tournament, you know you're going to go against 4 of the 5 rounds. They're going to be dedicated mirror matches. And you know when you get into the top cut, you're going to go against at least 1 or 2. Then I would say that would justify that. But even then, that requires a lot of effort. Or if you're playing a deck that does not need its extra deck, it's still a lot of effort because you could just be playing better cards. Dogmatic Punishment to send off Elder Entity Intis, Cyframe Lord Omega, the Cyber Dragon Nova and Mecha package. And then there's Prosperity and Extravagances. Not often you'll be able to pop off with Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, but I can tell you when you do resolve its effect, it's a pretty good time for your opponent. Unfortunately, no material is definitely, oh no, what are you doing, baby? You need to have no cards to be able to activate this effect, and there are so many ways to keep on playing, especially since your opponent's first summon, if you are playing in the competitive circuit, is Adventurous token stuff. They're just like, oh, well, I mean, I don't summon a monster until I have my negate on the field. So yeah, it's going to be not necessarily a great time for this card right now. That's going to be said for all of the orange lights. These cards were really good for the Drytron player, or all the Herald cards. These cards were really good with Drytron players, as you can search it with Eva, but Eva's banned. So these cards pretty much are completely useless to the current Yu-Gi-Oh card game. Hopefully in the near future, we'll get more Herald support and these cards become a lot better. Infinite Impermanence is, I want to say, is a sauce Yu-Gi-Oh card right now. And it's one of the very few hand traps that can still activate after you or on your turn. One of the very few. So if your opponent does set up with a artifact scythe lock, something that you do need to watch out for, you can infinite impermanence on your opponent's artifact scythe, provided that they have no disruptions and continue to play. You can't really say that for many of these hand traps, unfortunately, but infinite impermanence does have that versatility to not only be able to stop cards in the same column when it's set face down, being able to be used on your side of the field as long as it's the first card being used, you have no cards on your field. Imperm is a fairly good card. Now, Maxi doesn't exist in the TCG, but it's a god card in Master Duel. This card just says draw cards when your opponent special summons. I don't even know why a card that was designed 10 years ago should even apply to today's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a reason why a lot of card games have set rotations where you can only play X amount of sets in the competitive format, and then the other sets get rotated out. This is the result of very, very poor card design, Konami not thinking ahead of time. Maxi should not ever come off the forbidden list, and for Master Duel players, sorry, you got to deal with it, as well as OCG players. Heavenly Spirit of Myriota. We want this card to be good. We really do, because it just feels like it can be a great Yu-Gi-Oh card, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Nibiru the Primal Being is just a really good card. So the problem with Nibiru is that a lot of players are setting up to stop Nibiru, which means a lot of players aren't even playing Nibiru. But the good thing about players not playing Nibiru is now you're going to get a whole bunch of decks that fear Nibiru, like Solomon Great, like Burning Abyss. Decks that really don't want to deal with Nibiru are now going to be able to play, which is going to force people to start like, dang, we probably should play Nibiru. It's a never-ending cycle with Nibiru where either when it's not in the meta, certain decks can really thrive, which forces people to put it back in the meta, which makes Nibiru thrive, which means people are going to start playing cards to counter Nibiru. It's a never-ending cycle with this card, I promise you. And Nibiru is also always a card that you should have right now. You should definitely pick up. And unless we get a meta where Flunder Reese and True Draco are like the top dominant decks, Nibiru should always be considered. even when people will just play special summon decks that don't care about Nibiru. Cypher Gear Delta. Also, this is a Master Duel. I'd actually have to say it's a Master Duel mid card. Just like how it is, it's really good. A lot of these cards, if they're not in here, they pretty much apply to Master Duel the exact same way. So spell cards are still really powerful. That's why Imperial Order was banned. And Cypher Gear Epsilon is a card to stop spell cards. But this card almost isn't worth it, as the power of spell cards isn't as great. Now think about it. Those spell cards that we want to stop, Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplet, Forbidden Chalice, you don't have to have a monster on the field. Kind of really hard to use Cypher Gear Epsilon's effect when you have monsters on the field unless you make Lambda, which means that this card is a lot of effort. Red Reboot is, God, guys, you better be caught with this card. This is, again, a back row heavy format, guys. I wouldn't say back row heavy as in every deck is going to play back row, but you're going to have those top decks like Outlage, other trap based decks, Alter guys that can actually do some damage inside of this format. And you need to have a card that just says, no, let me win real quick. Red Reboot is 100% that card that you should be playing inside of your side deck. Contact C is, I think that it's good against certain strategies. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a lot of effort because it's good against decks like, it's really hard to put this. So like against Point Kids, it definitely works. The problem with that is that, again, if they're playing Adventure Token Prank Kids, they make the monster before, so it gets negated. Against Shadalls, this card really, really works. And Shadall and Dogmatic Invoke does not play the Adventurous Token engine. Those two decks will really suffer against a card like this. And this card actually does have a lot of upside for the future. So it definitely takes a lot of effort right now, but I think that there's opportunities for it to be a lot better. Saravis, sheesh, there's not too much targeting in Yu-Gi-Oh! DPE does not target. Oh, this is also really good if your opponent hard fusion destinies and against heroes. DPE does not target. Wandering Griffin does not target. Fog Blades target. There are some cards that target in the format, but not as much as you would want for Saravis to be really good. Token Collector is actually, Token Collector is pretty fucking good. It is low-key saucy. So one thing that I've been experimenting with is that you can Token Collector against Adventure Token. They don't have a token, so they have to negate Wandering Griffin Rider. It's like free bait. But even more importantly, against one of the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Sword Soul, Token Collector actually does counter. They need to play cards like Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill to actually be able to hang with you. So I think Token Collector is just a little bit better than what people give it credit. And the fact that it can be summoned from the graveyard to the side of the field to keep preventing that Wandering Griffin Rider to be summoned, I have to say that. But the problem with this is that the Wandering Griffin Rider isn't the only thing the opponent is going to do. With Scapegoat coming out the 2, I think players are going to start figuring out that Scapegoat is a 1-card OTK. It's also a 1-card Access Code Talker. It's a 1-card Draw 2. It's a 1-card Draw 2 and make Access Code Talker. Token Collector might see a little more play, but I'm going to put it borderline really good sauce. I'd have to put it here. And Nibiru is definitely borderline sauce really good. And then Skullmeister is really good as well. This card does stop Phantom Knight graveyard effects. It stops Tri-Brigade graveyard effects. It stops DPE. It's just a very, very solid card that you want to use in conjunction with other cards. And that is all that I have for today's tier list. Let me know exactly what do you think about our hand trap tier list. Is it a great tier list? Did I miss some cards? Am I going completely bonkers with the cards that you should be caught with? Also, be sure to let me know what other videos you would like to see. And also check out TheCaliEffect.com. We got some sauce coming up. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next video.